Welcome, boys and girls. Christine here with a discussion about Grimgor Ironhide and Total War Warhammer 3 and the very ridiculous, over-the-top campaign that Grimgor does have. You start with a tier 2 minor settlement, which in 2 turns will allow you to start churning out big guns and orc archer boys, provided you have the money for them. And because it is a tier 2 settlement, you can also get either a giant river troll hag or a night goblin big boss. I'd probably start with the big boss. Replenishment in general is useful, but if you're playing a Grimgor campaign, you're probably going to want to fight those battles manually, maximize the experience, minimize the casualties in order to achieve success as quickly as possible. So here's a couple of things that you want to do from the very beginning of your campaign situation. So, first off, you may recruit some ogre mercenaries over here. Just move a bit, and you will be able to get some ogre mercenaries that are available for a camp right here. This is a completely unmodded vanilla campaign, legendary very hard, neutrals AI stats modifier. So you get these units. You can also, once you get enough scrap, you can also get Immortal's armor for your Immortals, and you also start with the ability of getting padded shields. Like you don't start with enough scrap, but you know, an upgrade of padded shields might come in handy. There's a couple of scrap upgrades that are available for in the beginning. So this battle, recommend fighting manually. Start getting Night Goblin, Big Boss if you own Moments of Destruction. Fight this battle manually, fight the Settlement battle manually. Grimgor is really good because he's very durable himself, and he does also start with a melee hero, and he can get a lot of those melee heroes quickly as well. So you're just able to pretty much throw into the entire enemy army and just have them survive, and then use your artillery and range units to kill everything inside. So anyway, once you've defeated the initial army and taken the first element, you then start seeing the real craziness of Grimgor, because you can get free Black Orc big bosses from turn 1. These are fairly durable, and Grimgor, along with these big bosses, can really kill a lot of early game armies on his own. You want to recruit a couple of orc boys with spears, just a couple of them, get Inspiring Presence, get Bloody Blade and Scavenge. That's one of the only reason Grimgor has goblins with him. And hey, you might even get lucky and get the Potion of Toughness, just a bit of, you know, replenishment over there. So Grimgor is even crazier than he is by default. And yeah, just what you want to do after this point with your big bosses, with that post-battle loot benefit, with the upkeep benefit for Black Orcs and Big Guns, is just, yeah, recruit a bunch of boys, eventually recruit a bunch of Big Guns and Orc Archers, conquer this entire province. And while the first element you just want to take normally, these two you should loot and occupy, or sack them. But loot and occupy, so you get a rebellion over here in Vrag. Something else worth saying that is worth doing is you can get a Savage Orc Great Shaman. And if you get one with Cunning, that's pretty nice, pretty useful, all things considered. Can help you out with what you're looking to achieve, because Grimgor's campaign insanity doesn't stop there. I mean, you also get 10% campaign win range after winning a battle, fear for Black Orc units, you're next, Grimgor's Wa. Like, Grimgor's Wa, base weapon damage, armor piercing weapon damage, melee attack. The melee attack aspect in particular is very, very, very damn useful. Something else that's really useful is that he has these 2 quest battles, one at 7 and one at 12. Neither of these is really that difficult. Certainly the Gitsnik one is very, very easy. Just Battle of Black Fire Pass in Warhammer 1 is not really something to write home about. So that is your objective. Over here, you can also declare war on Drazif right here and get a non-aggression pact with the Dark Land Orcs and get the Confederation going with them, and then sell that territory to Tretch Craventail and have him fight Drazif, so that's one potential foe eliminated. Or distracted, at the very least. Now, very quickly in this campaign, in second turn, third turn, you will be able to get the Confederation with Darkland Orcs. Where the benefit comes in doing so is you got various opportunities, as I said, to screw over certain people. Like, you can sell Darkhold and get Tretch to declare war on Drazov. But also importantly, in this kind of dynamic, you can also go meet Skarsnik and Gorbat. Now, over here, if we look at the kind of situation we do have, Tretch may or may not be willing to declare war on Drazov, but Drazov himself is reasonably far away over here from our settlement, because you'll always take, like, if you get this very early on, you get a bit of a buffer. So the fact I was able to take it on turn 2 gave me a pretty good advantage as many things were concerned. And that's something that's going to occupy their attention for quite a few turns over there. And all it required me was just to engage in a bit of diplomacy, lose a bit of money with the Darkland Orcs, and now it's like, yeah, the first 2 battles that you fight in a campaign might be the only ones you do have to actually fight in a campaign over here, and then it's like, yeah, just smooth sailing, loot and occupy the settlement, get another growth building, get the Night Goblin big boss. Pretty worth it. And we can also take Grimgor over here, move this shaman into the settlement and do a bit of global recruitment with him, and do some regular recruitment for Grimgor. Normally I would argue that Mangler Squigs would be worth recruiting, but not necessarily in this context. So anyway, you want to go faster, or you can go with grow bigger, and the kind of vision that you've gotten will come in fairly handy over here with respect to that. You want to get the boys, reload time reduction. But yeah, just as I said, with regards to your Black Orcs, normally I would argue in favor of training, but here you actually do want to get the armor skill, like Dead Hard and Thick Skinned, for all of them, because you are going to have some difficult battles, and any kind of advantage, in particular with regards to armor, is going to come in handy very, very quickly, very decisively. Something else worth pointing out is if you can get a mushroom addicted Orc War boss, could also be pretty good as well. But yeah, like, you're looking for big guns, you're looking for Orc Archers. Although maybe I should recruit Orc Archers globally and just recruit big guns for Grimgor, because doesn't matter, really. So yeah, this army is just going to go find Gorband Ironclaw, and not necessarily confederate him. It is a bit, like, it gives you a bit of vision that you can work with. Now, once you've taken the initial province that Grimgor starts in, you can obviously play the campaign normally, but the real power that Grimgor has, the thing that makes him completely freaking ridiculous, does lie in his ability of taking Zar Negrund very early on, and also being able to take it as a tier 5 settlement. That is not an insubstantial power that he has access to in his campaign. In fact, it is a very significant level of power that will help him out quite a bit. You also get a bit of vision with Scrag, so you can go declare war on the border princes, get a bit of money. Just, yes, you do rely on region trading, you do rely on different things in order to keep things going here. But the goal here is to really get either Syra or Gorf to commit to try and take us out, because whichever army they send here is going to be wiped out. I just want to get a bit more money over here in order to secure my success. Well, there is a way of doing it. That should just be enough, yeah. And importantly, you declare a law on Zar Negrund, and because it is the #1 faction in terms of faction strength, it ensures that you are going to get one of the best rewards available from that law. And it is a pretty good one, too. It's not just like, oh, you're getting the strongest reward. No, you're also getting a really good reward from that. If you're playing Grimgor, you do something like this. This is, by the way, the army that you actually want. Like, it doesn't matter that you lose this many troops. Ideally, you'd fight this battle manually, but, like, yeah. You can also see that Sarah walked out of this one. So, this is the battle that really matters. Because defeating one of these armies is one thing. Defeating both of these armies at the same time is a real winner. Because it leaves Zar Negrund open to just you waltzing over it and destroying it. And, you know, I would firmly recommend fighting that battle manually. Like, I'm just saving it in the interest of time. But what you want is to minimize casualties in a lot of these different battles, even if you lose a lot of troops much later on. But you want to minimize your casualties, get things like Fearsome Person, Present, Scarred Veteran, you know, reduce the risks over there. And, yeah, chase him back. Even if you lose a lot of these damn troops, it's, again, not relevant. Though you probably could lower the casualties even further here if you really wanted to. Now, the important bit is that Zar Negrund itself is now undefended. There might be some troops over there, sure. That they might get the Lord, but they just lost both their armies. So right now, completely undefended. And even if you can't take it in a single fight, you do have a lot of different advantages, including the fact that you can get more Black Orc big bosses through Grimgor's special skill line at this kind of point, and unleash the biblical tide of death and destruction. What we want are also shamans, more loot, more resources, get rid of the structure. You know, it's kind of hilarious that Greenskins have Shroom addicted for both lords and heroes. So it's like we got a bunch of regiments for now. We got a bunch of different troops. We can get a bunch of artillery. You can take Zar Negrund with a much weaker army, but what you really are after as a player with Grimgor is to be able to out-resolve it. At least if you want to save yourself some trouble in the campaign. It's not strictly necessary to be certain on this subject, but it would be pretty damn useful, I'm not gonna lie. You can also use global recruitment benefits in this campaign, Deadly Schemer, Ambush Defense Chance, let's get more mobility. Yeah, we can use those regiments around. So that's how you gain a lot of freaking power, but we're not done. We're over here. And of course, just eliminating Syra and Gorf. Like, it is ideal if they move like that. You might want to save, reload on that in turn, just so you get Gorf attack. It doesn't matter if the ambush is successful or not, by the way. I mean, you can win against Syra. Like, with the amount of forces you have at your disposal, you can definitely win against Syra in that kind of situation. You can see it's a close defeat, but we can make it even freaking closer by bringing more forces to bear over there. Like more Black Orc big bosses. We may also... Right? We may also want to get a bit more troops over there for Grimgor. So over here you want a combination of growth, control building, and look, even if this even if you're literally forced to retreat over here, I mean, if they sally out, you could probably defeat them. But what you're looking for is that kind of auto-resolve win. And I'll explain why in just a second. But yeah, you want to give yourself a couple of advantages. So if we look at... I mean, if you want to guarantee yourself an auto-resolve success, you can always lower the battle difficulty and just auto-win this. Right? That is an option. You may also want to wait a bit with the wall, all that kind of stuff. Here I'm not sure if they'll be able to drive us out. But it's always worth keeping in mind, settlements do have an inherent auto-resolve benefit, but only when you're attacking them or someone is attacking them, not when they're trying to sally out. So, bit of an advantage over there to keep in mind. And yes, once you start laying the siege over here, it's kind of GG well played for them. And you can just get more forces right here. I mean, I emphasize, one of these armies would be good enough to deal with Zar Negrund. Like, Grimgor's army here could win this battle pretty easily, in fact. But what you want is get this kind of result. Like, this is vanilla auto-resolve battle difficulty. Now, why do you want this? Well, to explain this very quickly, greenskins have a chance when they occupy a settlement or loot and occupy a settlement to take at the same level it's at. Zar Negrund being a tier 5 settlement with a powerful landmark, you kind of understand the benefit of doing so as opposed to waiting for it to get to tier 5. So that's the reason. Like, you basically want to have a save point before that point so you can get it to tier 5. So after many attempts, you might be able to get Zar Negrund as a tier 5 settlement, or you could get lucky enough to get it on your first go as a tier 5 settlement, or just settle for it as tier 4. And after this point, well, you are nigh on unstoppable. Character experience, research rate, wins of magic power, reserve capacity. It is kind of a shame that Zar Negrund doesn't have a basic military barracks in it, because it would be fun to just be able to start recruiting Black Orcs. Although, in that respect, Grimgor does have the advantage over here at tier 3 from the big fort in Carrick Vrak. So you can either go very aggressively with Grimgor and do what I did over here, or you can take your time and still get the same end result, ultimately, in a campaign. And suffice to say, if you're marching on Zar Negrund with an entire stack of Black Orcs, you're gonna annihilate the forces defending it. Though big guns will also get the job done. Now, in terms of other things, beyond the big gun benefit and the Black Orc benefit, as well as the Black Orc Big Boss benefit, so you can get 5 of these very quickly, you do get plus 30% income from post-battle loot. So the more you fight, the more post-battle loot you get, the more you can fight. Yes, it is that kind of cycle in Grimgor's campaign. He also gets Fear, You're Next as an ability, which is really powerful, and he's also got a ward save through the best of the best, melee defense damage, damage resistance. So this is one of the things that makes Grimgor so scary in battle, because he has these kind of combat benefits. He's got an inherent ward save. His Blood-Forged armor, which you can acquire at level 12, gives him a further 15% ward save. So you're looking at 25% ward save if you're dealing with foes. And it's not like Grimgor can be tar-pitted, because that's where the Blood-Forged armor comes in. You're looking at plus 40% post-battle loot with Grimgor, Gets Nick, melee attack, bonus versus large. So there's few things that can go toe-to-toe with Grimgor in a 1v1 fight, be it single entities, large monsters, armies of people, and come out on top. This is why whenever you face Grimgor in a campaign, he is such a nuisance. Because all of these benefits, the AI version of Grimgor also does have. And that grants him a sweet, sweet level of power that you can use. And you do have some of these upgrades available very quickly in his campaign. And after that point, what do you want to do? Well, I'd probably go recommend dealing with Skarsnik and Gorbad, confederating them, forcefully confederating them, and maybe going to save Azag would actually be one of your first priorities, because out of the Greenskin Legendary Lords, the one that is the most vulnerable to being wiped out is Azag. You can't save Grom, but also Grom does tend to get wiped out on at least Legendary difficulty. But regardless of that situation, you become so dominant at this point that no one is going to even come close to being able to compete against you in terms of, like, just sheer level of power, if you will, during the course of a campaign. And the amount of money you do get early on is also pretty damn ridiculous, I would argue. Like, just flat out ridiculous. Lots of heroes. Oh, speaking about heroes, you can also, get a Night Goblin big boss, a Goblin big boss, or an additional Goblin big boss. It ends up being flat out freaking ridiculous. In terms of faction potential, now, I wouldn't say Grimgor is one of the craziest factions to play in a campaign. The reason I would say he's not one of the craziest factions to play comes down to the fact that if you're playing a campaign as Greenskins, your auto-resolve is kind of weird. Like, sometimes it can be really good. Other times you might have to fight a lot of different manual battles in order to achieve success. So it can absolutely end up being something of an issue. So you're not just going to have like, oh, I got so powerful, I've won. You've won, yes, absolutely, you have won. If you get to this point in your campaign, undeniably so, you've won. But you might still have plenty of battles left to do during the course of a campaign, and it depends on how you want to approach that kind of situation when you are playing as Grimgor. Because you do have those kind of considerations to keep in mind in a campaign as him. But so, yeah, you've definitely won the campaign if you get to a stage like this. It's just like freaking absurd. Ridiculously so. Oh. Well, isn't that... I think it's easier to get lower level settlements to a higher level than it is to get higher level settlements. But still, all the same, just absolutely freaking ridiculous. On so many different damn levels. It's not even funny when you're thinking about the kind of power dynamics in play over here in a campaign like of this kind of nature. So yeah, just ridiculous power unleashed with Grimgor. Lots of armies, lots of big guns, lots of Black Orcs, lots of Black Orc heroes. Unleash the Green Tide. You're gonna have more armies, I think, as Grimgor than all the other Greenskin Legendary Lords, at the moment at least. One could argue, if you will, about, Skarsnik, for instance. I'm not quite sure I agree with that argument. I think it had its value, but while Skarsnik does have a significant number of economic benefits, he's not really going to be in a position to take Zar Negrund, at least not in the way Grimgor will. That's maybe one of the key points of his faction strength, if you will, over here, that he can do this in this kind of way. And yeah, Mangler Squigs and all that kind of stuff to worry about. You might want to split off your army. One goes after Skarsnik, or send two armies to save Azag, whereas one under Grimgor just goes and just goes to try and beat up the rodent that is Skarsnik, really. But regardless of how you want to do it, this is ridiculous. Oh, and in terms of the reward of Zar Negrund, this is even more ridiculous because you can get the Stunty trophy, which reduces construction cost by minus 20%. This is why you want to get Zar Negrund as quickly as possible and do a WA against it, because 20% construction cost on basically a permanent level in a campaign is just flat freaking ridiculous. Cuisine signing out. Stay tuned for more.